Welcome back to the shop. This is a original series Tommy lift hydraulic tailgate. It's hydraulic cable. Got it from my buddy Robbie. It looks like they added a hitch to it, which is not factory, and I'm gonna add it to my F250. So first thing I want to do is make sure it works, but it's super heavy. Luckily I have the forklift. I'm gonna set the camera down and try to get it in a better position and see what we're working with. Well, I've got it apart. I can see some issues. There's a frayed line right there. Got some jets flying over today because of the race. We're about 5 miles from Daytona Speedway. But half of those clamps are either broken, well, they're half are broken and they're all on incorrectly in terms of the upper side of those. The saying is you can't put a saddle on a dead horse, and the saddle is on the dead end of that line, the frayed part. So we'll have to redo that, but that's not the biggest problem we got at this point. I've got to clean this up and degrease it, free it up a little bit. It's pretty rusty, but it's coming along. The forklift sure does make this nice. It is a dream to be able to move this thing around easily without having to worry about getting hurt. So now, after doing some crude measurements, I think I can set it right on the hitch, right on the bumper that's there. It's narrower than the back of the truck, and I think I can just set it there. I'll take the license plate off, fire the forklift up, spin it around, and put it in place. That hitch is causing all sorts of problems. I'm going to go ahead and plasma cut that off. I'm not going to lie and say that was fun. The plasma cutter usually is fun, but you could use it to sort of scarf off the welds in most cases, and in this case it just wasn't working and it was blowing back on me, and I didn't have gloves and my hands are burned like no other, so it was difficult. So I just ended up torching off the meat of it. When I get it on the truck, I think it'll be a lot easier to work with. And now I can just have it set on these feet. Sorry, the light's probably going to blow this out. But the arms are hitting here, so I'm going to go ahead and take the cutoff wheel and relieve that out of there. And then that should let this drop down further, because right now it's about a foot off the ground. Well, that's tacked in place right now. I guess I could probably cut off the bottom there. I've got a lot of fit and finish work to do on this. And in terms of the electrical, I'm not sure which way I'm going to go yet, whether I just want to power this with a jump box or whether I want to run hardwire all the way up to the front. We'll wait and see. Look at the prices on copper wire and jump boxes and make a decision. For you, this will be the same video, but it's a different day for me. I'm going to use jumper cables. These are 1/0 jumper cables with the ends made up on them, and they already have this plug, this winch plug. It's a 175 amp plug, and I have a what the manufacturer called for was a 150 amp breaker. So this should all go together. This whole setup here, you know, with the nice ends on it, was $77. And if I was going to buy the cables, the 1/0 cables, just one length of it, if I were to buy this as a 30-foot kit, well, I was going to be double the money. So I'm going to run the positive and the negative all the way to the back of this. And I don't need to run both because you could use the frame as the neutral. So the reason I'm going to add the power there is in case I ever want to run, well, I guess I could still use the frame, but if I want to run a winch or I want to have an inverter there's a significant amount of debate out there as to whether I should run a dedicated ground back or not. I think it might be a little bit of overkill, but it's already tied up, it's already made together in one thing. It should be easy enough for me to do. So I'm going to just run the positive and the negative all the way back, and then I'll put the breaker right in the middle of the positive up in the engine compartment. So in order to get a hole big enough in the back of this, you know, to fit, this step bit is about the biggest thing I have that would sort of work. I don't have a way to chuck that and get the drill all the way back in there, so I'm going to use the plasma cutter and blow a hole in the back of this thing. Now that's a sheath for a synthetic shackle, and that should be a really excellent chafe guard to keep this thing from getting rubbed through. Like the previous wire had a strain relief on it, but then just past the strain relief it ended up wearing thin, so that's why I replaced this wire. I understand this is a new motor. It's got a little bit of movement to it, so I'm not sure how it's actually affixed to it, meaning that the ground might not be that good, so I'm going to add a grounding strap from one of the bolts that holds the solenoid on to the chassis of this. That should provide a pretty solid ground for this. Alright, sort of a mess here, but I was able to salvage about, I don't know, 5 feet of those cable ends. It's really nice. And then I've got my 150 amp breaker on it, and I just rode up and down on it, and I weigh about, let's say, under 300 pounds. So it lifts me up and down like a dream, and it didn't blow the breaker, so that's good. I did patch in. You'll see that this wire looks a little smaller. It's a little tiny short piece of, I think it's 2-aught welding cable. It's really high strand count, really excellent stuff. But the wire that I have here, this 1 gauge, is almost too big to fit in here. I had to trim off some of the wires to even get it to fit into there. It's just such a large wire size, and you can see it here. It's just overkill for what this thing is, so a little short piece here. I would feel some heat if there was any resistance. But I think it's in there pretty good. I've got it zip tied to the frame away from the muffler. It should be good enough. Let me clean up a little bit, and then I'll give you a video of it working. While I have them out, I bought these zip ties, and they have these push, so the little holes in the frames, I can just push this in there and it holds the zip tie in place, independent of everything else. And they didn't fit. I didn't use them throughout the whole thing, but wherever I had a little 1/4-inch hole, they really worked nice. I think this is a great idea. All right, let's give it a shot. That is so cool. I've got some more welds. I've only got it tacked on in a couple places. It's probably way more than enough, but I'd rather go way overboard with the welding. But it's more than enough for me. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and put the plate back on it, and I will repaint this, clean it up, get it nice looking, get the whole truck looking a little bit more jazzy. But right now, I've got a buddy of mine that needs to borrow the truck on the weekend. We're going to go on a cruise, so I just want to get it functional for now. And once I put the inspection plate back on, it'll be functional. So I just wanted to bring you along and show you my new timing gate. Thanks for watching.